Hello, welcome. Yes, this is D from the S.I.B.S podcast, man. I just want to talk about the best media, local media in the country, within the NFL, and that's the Cleveland Browns. That's the Cleveland Browns. You probably say, why are they the best media? Why are they the best? What do they do that makes them the best? Delusions have become truth. And this is why I say they're the best. They believe their delusion. From Mary Kay Cabot to Grossi to 92.3 The Fan, to ESPN Cleveland, to Albert Breer, Jason Lloyd. Yes, I know these people by name. No, they're not the best. They're the worst in the NFL. I've never seen. I'll be honest with y'all. I'm a Cowboys fan, and from the area, lived in Texas all my life. Cowboys fan, right? I also like the Ravens. I love Lamar Jackson. I've never seen. I understand local media. Most of the time, local media cares about their team, like genuinely cares. Like not everybody in local media is a fan of the team. So this is a job. I get that. Doing reporting, whatever. But as fans of the team, which I've heard these people talk about on the show, they've been fans of Browns since they from the area, grew up there. I've never seen a media go against their team. Not just Shador. Uh, but just period. It's not just a Shador thing. This happened with Baker. Happened with Odell, Jarvis Landry, Johnny Manziel, and other probably Cleveland, not just quarterbacks, players, just period. So it's not just a Shador thing. Y'all say it's heightened with Shador just due to the nature of that situation. So I'm kind of just go back a little bit just for me. So yes, I'm a bandwagon Colorado fan. Indeed, I am. Did not care anything about Colorado, nothing until uh, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. They came to the Big 12. That's just the truth. I'm not even that big of a college football fan. I do keep up with it for sure, but I got my teams like for college. You got a little background. So college basketball, go Big Orange. Let's talk about Syracuse basketball. Yeah, that's my team. Far as basketball. If I say I had a team in anything, that's college basketball. Syracuse, my team. No, they haven't been good. Hopefully, they'll be good this year. We'll see. Try to go to a game. Okay, I'm getting off topic. But as far as I just want to go back, just a quick rundown of why I even know about Cleveland media. We all know, well, this whole Shador thing, the draft. Even before the draft, the hate started when they transitioned, leaving Jackson State to come to Colorado. The hate was brewing already for Deion Sanders, for Shador, and then once Shador, you know, the first season there in Colorado, they weren't good. As a team, they weren't good. They have great skill position players at the wide receiver position, running back, quarterback. But the O line wasn't good. Defense, they didn't have a run game because of O line. D line was so so. Defense was so so. But they came back that second year, went 9-4, played in the bowl game. No, they lost to BYU. All those different things. The line was bad that game. But and it was just even before that, you saw the hate from different media outlets, including national media. This already started once they came there. Even that first year, played TCU. TCU had come off being a national championship game. There were a lot of guys that left off that team, but people weren't high on Colorado. People didn't believe that because Shador do that in the Big 12. And so it's not like the hate just started once he got to Cleveland, but I feel like it just carried over for whatever reason. And some of those reasons, recently coming out, if you keep up. That's my reason for even keeping up, because what happened with the draft, his draft haul from being projected number one pick to him dropping to the fifth round. Like, how do you let Dylan Gabriel? How do you let the quarterback from Alabama? He's a Seahawks. He probably third string. Let me see, Seahawks. Jalen. I'm going blank. Seahawks quarterback. Jalen Milroe. Yeah, because to me, I'm just going through. No, Dylan Gabriel wasn't better than Shador. Jalen Milroe was not a better than Shador as a quarterback. I don't care if he can run, runs a 4.3. No. So some of the guys that went before Shador, Jackson Dart, I didn't feel like he was better than Shador. Tyler Shuck. Now we understand what has happened. Once they got into their prospective teams, we've seen them play. Jackson Dart had success. Uh, some of these other guys had success. Cam Ward doing this thing even the first overall pick, not the best organization, but they made some good moves this offseason. But coming out of college, it was like, I didn't know what Tyler Shuck was going to be. Really, those two, Tyler Shuck, Cam Ward, well, the two that mainly played, and I'm sure came in later. But that's why I even just kept up with I still do keep with the Browns to see what's going on, mainly with Shador. That's just the truth. I knew about the Browns before. I was a fan of Baker Mayfield. He came out, so I kept up with the Browns a little bit. But really watching Shador and just keeping up with kind of the story has been more so my thing from last year with Kevin Stefanski up until now. But I'm going to stay focused on the media part. What happened in the draft and all the things there. But then once, Shador gets with the Cleveland Browns and all this talk, it started just with Dylan Gabriel being they called him the supercomputer, and you had certain media members coin that phrase. Local media member, I think it was Mary Kay and Tony Grossi, maybe Tony Grossi, that came up with that phrase, whoever it was. But it's like they used Dylan Gabriel and propped him up and saying that he was better than Shador. And I was like, under no circumstances was he's better than Shador. And that showed on the field. A lot of people like to go to the overall stats of both players when they started the game and played. I know Shador was 10 for 7, 10 interceptions. 7 for 10, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And I believe Dylan Gabriel was 5-2 in his starts. And when he played, or his touchdown to interception ratio, 5-2. So like 5 touchdowns. He only threw like 2 picks. But if you watch the games, it's like night and day between the two from a talent perspective and what, there was actually wins with Shador versus what happened with Dylan Gabriel. And during the time when Gabriel was in, the roster, you actually had the starters in versus by the time Shador got in, there were some missing pieces due to injury, different things like that. And then Wyatt Teller had, benched and subbing in and out for whatever reason that was. But from a media perspective, as the focus here, I've just never seen a media try to trash a player on their own squad that you say you root for. Is still to me one of the strangest things I've seen. Usually if you're a local media, you're a fan of the team, covering that team, I would assume give honest critiques and honest journalism. You may not get along with everybody. That's bound to happen, especially if you're being a truth teller with your articles and what you say publicly about the team and say players. But, I think all these rookies, Jackson Dart in New York, Travis Hunter in Florida, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jacksonville, you don't hear stories of local media just dog walking their players, these rookies, like they did with Shador, with just all these things that came out about him. Granted, that has to do with the organization as well, about what information, these sources that people get information from. And this with Cleveland, it's just like, I noticed just watching and just listening just to these local media, 92.3 The Fan, Cleveland.com, just the middle of the road average mindset. Understand Cleveland Browns have not given that fan base a lot to cheer about. I do get that. So expectations can be very low for as a fan when you like, hey, they probably go win. Y'all arguing. People say Cowboys fans are delusional. We arguing about we going to the Super Bowl or not. Y'all arguing about whether y'all get 3 wins or not. Dallas Cowboys on these past 2 seasons have not been good as far as an overall record. But before that, under Mike McCarthy, then we had 2 back-to-back 12-3 seasons. And Dak has multiple 10+ win seasons under Dak Prescott. Not even going back to Tony Romo and all them days. Just comparing organizations just from what's happening on the field. Not to mention other organizations like Kansas City and stuff like that. But you talk about a delusional fan base in Dallas, but at least as fans, like we prop up our team. I'm not saying the serves Cleveland players that do, but overall, based off just looking at the local media, who's supposed to also be fans of this team, man, like when Kevin Stefanski got fired, people felt local media people like your Anthony Limas and Ken Carman and Baskin and Phelps, no, especially them two old heads, they felt like Andrew Berry should have been gone too. And I know that was surrounded because he was black. So if Kevin Stefanski, wherever his, I don't know his, he just, Caucasian guy, whatever his background is ethnic wise. But, you know, he fits the bill, complexion for the protection. But Andrew Berry, he needs to go too because as if the two were tied together. If I remember correctly, I think Andrew Berry. Ooh, did they come at the same time? I believe Andrew Berry came in after. Okay, so January 13, 2020. So they came out at the same time. So that was my bad. So they were tied with each other. Now I don't. Obviously, I'm assuming that was the owner's decision at the time, and I'm not sure if because a lot of times GM helps with the head coach decision. So that wasn't a Andrew Berry hire since he got hired on at the same time. But they were together. So and it's just you see some of those things too when you watch this Cleveland media, and it does come off is there's some part of it is racial bias on certain aspects of it with certain individuals in certain conversations. So there's some racial bias there. Like you want your quarterback to potentially look a certain way. It seems, especially right now, you've heard the everybody bust your door trend that was happening. Where there's most recently Brendan Sorsby out of Cincinnati and Texas Tech. Before it was Malik Willis. Before that was Anthony Richardson. Before that it was currently now too is Deshaun Watson. They're in the quarterback competition, but just saying, well, before y'all was hating Deshaun Watson when he first got to Cleveland due to his off the field issues. But now certain aspects of Cleveland fandom and media, wants him to be the starter. It just makes sense, even though we haven't seen him play in the past like 2 seasons. And everything will play out on the field, of course. That's not the point I'm making. I'm not saying it's just like as if people forget that the things we say publicly and on social platforms, things we tweet out and post in today's age are just, people can't look them up. Understand that as time progresses, we change our mind on things. We have different viewpoints. We mature. We see things differently. I'm just like, where is the, I don't know. I guess where is the consistency? Where is the love for the players on your team? Why are we constantly trying to harass at one point a 23-year-old who in Shador, who I give great respect to for how he's handled everything, adversity that he's handled. It's very commendable for him not like when he has talked to the media, not snapping or not going back and forth with certain aspects of people, but the way he's carried himself. So that's a very high trait that he has that I respect. And kind of letting his play on the field do the talking and just letting time really do its work because time reveals all things. Reveals the truth about situations, about people, and everything like that. Because to me, I always view Shador coming out of Colorado as a franchise quarterback who I thought was going to go in the first round, no later than the second round if he fell out the first. Even if he had, I thought the Steelers should have swooped him up good. Just think about who needed quarterbacks. The Saints did, Steelers, but we all know what happened. But then went to Cleveland. Well, it's a good situation because I have an opportunity to start. And I'm just like, with this media, and constant, making money off of his name because Shador does move the needle, and talking about media. Do want to shine a bright spot on some of the media outlets within Cleveland. There's a couple within Cleveland and even outside Cleveland that have, fairly given Shador just being fair, not being underhanded, not dumping on Shador because it's a cool thing to do right now. That's one thing, kind of weird, like almost like peer pressure. But it would be G. Bush, who is an independent news reporter, or not a news reporter per se, but independent, has his own independent platform. He recently did an interview with Coach Prime, and they had their confidential interview, which was a very good interview. Check it out on his platform, The Barbershop. But even with that, I was expecting that because I remember that came out. So I was like, there'll probably be a lot of talk from 92.3 The Fan, from Cleveland media, from ESPN, from Cleveland.com. That would be a lot of like talk about going over that. Saying, it's almost like as if they ignored it because one, out of jealousy. I'm sorry, envy. Probably won in that interview, and he got it. But the thing with G. Bush, has been fair. It's not about you saying things that aren't true about Shador, but just being fair, not dumping on a young man at the age of, I think maybe like 24 years old now, but 23 when he first as a rookie. But you're not dumping on him, but just being fair. So with G. Bush has always been fair, and he's a fan of the Cleveland Browns. He's from Ohio. I don't know exactly what part of Cleveland. So he's a fan of the team. He's been doing the YouTube thing for over a decade. So he has a lot of credibility and consistency in that game. So, and I was expecting, I honestly saw it. I understand interview came out. Let me see what 92.3 The Fan says. So I go to YouTube, click on their page videos, look on short. I'm like, they ain't saying nothing about the interview. I'm going over here. Nothing. Ain't nobody. They just ignoring it. That's one of your own that got an interview. Another guy that's within Cleveland that talks about the Cleveland Browns and actually talks about the team, talks about the rookies, even from last year, Carson Schwarzenegger's talking about Jerry Jeudy, talking about Harold Fanning, talking about Myles Garrett, just from a football perspective, talking about the most recent Fano that got drafted, talking about KC Concepcion, talking about David Boston. I'll be honest with y'all. I know more about the Browns draft class and who they picked in. I literally been keeping up with this more than I do the darn Dallas Cowboys. I know who some of the guys they picked, but it's not. That's how I've been keeping up with this joint, and it's sad. And I'm not like necessarily. I'm a fan of football. I will say that I do have teams I like I said Cowboys and Ravens, but I've been keeping up with this just because of the Shador piece. I'll be honest, but I'm just saying, we're talking about so many things to talk about. When you talk about like anything, any sport, especially as I understand too, you have to push the needle in that business. I know I'm on platform doing videos, but for me, it's always about giving an honest take, not saying something or pushing something that's going to, one, be false, and two, I want to be able to look, even with talking about sports, I want to be proud of the things that I say. You can look back on and be like, yeah, that was, even if 1,000 people disagree with me, but I was honest in my take. I was honest in my opinion. I was honest in my thought process. Not to say this, but to gain some type of notoriety or try to get people to like what I'm saying. And so that's one thing about G. Bush I respect. FB Teams is another one. He's not even in the Cleveland area or Cleveland Browns fan, but just, I think he's even said he's like a homer for Shador. There's many other ones. Snacks, other people, like other outlets that I watch. It's just even someone that come on 92.3 The Fan and that I've seen that just give their honest take on what they see. There's few over there. And then also this Brendan Sorsby thing, young brother, dealing with some gambling issues. It's a gambling addiction, unfortunately for him. Supposed to be in a supplemental draft. And I know that, the Cleveland media, when I really say Cleveland media, I'm really heavy on 92.3 The Fan, ESPN Cleveland. it's interesting that they played. At the time he was at Cincinnati, I believe, in the Colorado. Colorado played Cincinnati, and Colorado won. This was I think the second season of Prime being there as a head coach, and they beat them in just head-to-head match. I'm saying quarterbacks don't go against each other. It's not Shador versus Sorsby, but if you were comparing just that game, as far as look at the stats, different things like that. Shador did outplay Brendan Sorsby, but they're saying that he would be projected number one, and if he was in this most recent draft class, maybe even, or he'd be a high draft pick, maybe in 2027 draft class. That's supposed to be the draft class for you to get your quarterback now. The generational one, like 2026 was, huh? And I do believe the 2025 quarterback draft class will end up being, in the long run, out of 25, 26, 27, will probably end up being one of the better, when it's all said and we look 10 years from now, we'll see, but one of the better draft classes, compared to, some of these other ones. But yeah, it's just thing I also want to touch on, just Cleveland Browns media, man. It's just I just don't get it. They have an agenda. Some of these individuals, they're going to continue to push certain narratives against a young man that just wants to play football. Hold him to first round status, his expectations. Because I know, so Shador, I say you have a bad game. I knew he wasn't it, but let Cam Warren have a bad game. Let Jackson Dart have a bad game. Let one of these other quarterbacks have a bad game. It's that's just their rookie, or it's their second year in the league. I don't know. But Shador got to come out 300 yards, 5 touchdowns. XYZ 1, 2, 3. It's like, let's be balanced. Let's find critique. Let's critique it. You need to do this better. Need to do this better. But let's not be overboard. Let's not go overkill. Let's not desecrate. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Cleveland Browns, yeah, they're the worst media out there, man. The worst. Like, seriously. And if Shador gets opportunity in Cleveland and he starts winning with this team, if he beats out Deshaun Watson, however that may go, he gets the opportunity, wherever the case may be, how it gets on the field, which I think he more than capable of doing, and starts winning, let's say the Browns get to the playoffs. I'm not saying this upcoming season, maybe next season. He's going the second year. He was a 5th round draft pick, so it should be a 4-year deal. Second year, we'll see. We'll see, depending on how the Browns do. They end up taking the quarterback in the 2027. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, rooting for Shador. Rooting for 2. Rooting for the Buffaloes, for him to do well. Win some games. You'll be well over 500. Shut up all the haters and just be consistent moving forward, man. But that's all I want to talk about, man. Cleveland Browns media, man. I didn't even touch on all. You can so much to touch on with that, but sometimes you gotta let it be and just focus on the positives and move forward from there. But yeah, D from the S.I.B.S podcast, signing off. Appreciate y'all. Take it easy.